Okay, so everybody, welcome. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, tech enthusiasts and insurance aficionados. Welcome to the Insurtech breakfast. My name is Gabriela Trujillo, as some of you may already know. I'm part of the HITS team and I'll be your host for this session. So today we're live from HITS Innovation Garage. This is our first time doing it from our beloved garage, so it's exciting. And I couldn't be more excited to kick off this amazing Insurtech breakfast with you all. But I would like to apologize for my voice because I'm suffering from my allergies today, so bear with me a little bit. Also, remember that this session will be recorded. So even though we encourage you to turn on your cameras so we can have that extra layer of communication and community, if you don't want to appear in the recording, just feel free to turn your camera off. Now, before we dive into the innovation insights of ChatGPT, I want to take a moment to present our guest speakers. Today, we're taking things in-house as today's guests are our very own Chief Venturing Officer, Samyr Mazzour, and our Innovation Project Manager, Kilian Massiah. They will discuss the challenges and opportunities of ChatGPT in the insurance industry, and we'll get an overview of what ChatGPT is and how it works, setting the stage of an in-depth exploration of its challenges and opportunities in the insurance industry. So grab your cup of coffee, take a bite of that croissant, and get ready to embark on a thrilling journey through the realm of generative AI. So Kilian, Sam, the stage is yours.
So just before we start, and I hand over to Kilian, maybe all of you are wondering, okay, am I being casted to the next Pirates of the Caribbean movie? The answer is no. I had eye surgery yesterday, so since I didn't want to just block my camera, I want to see you and you to see me to make it more interactive. So everything is fine. Yeah, that explains the eye patch. Now over to you, Kilian.
Perfect, and I really appreciate your commitment, Sam, despite the very recent operation. Thank you very much, Gabriel, for the intro. Actually, to start with, we would like to do something a bit different and not just jump onto the next slide, but rather learn a bit from you. So we prepared a few Slido questions that you can access easily by scanning the QR code on the top left with your iPhone or Android device, or you can simply go on slido.com and use the code that you see here at the bottom corner. So I see this is already working because we already have the few first answers flying in. Very good. And now I would like just to quickly get a bit of a pulse of the room. There is no right or wrong answer, of course. It's just interesting for us to understand the frequency that you use this very interesting tool for both work and non-work related tasks. I'm just going to give a few more seconds for people to answer. I see we have 99 participants and we almost are at halfway through it. And it seems that overall there is quite a recurring usage already a few times, if not even daily. This is a very positive sign. Hopefully also it will help us to have a very interactive Q&A session at the end. But it's also good to see that there are people who have never used it. And for you, please don't hesitate to share any question during the session. The goal is really to share between each other so that we can all learn together. All right, I would suggest we move to the next question, but very interesting to see already there is quite some usage of the tool in the room, despite some people maybe being a bit newer to it.
I love the 25% daily. I mean, if you compare it now with, 25% daily, 16% weekly. So this is really, surprising positively. And we will compare it with a survey that has been done last month in the US. Kilian, can you maybe shift to the next one? Thank you. So this is a survey done with more than 1,000 American users, And here you say that, the daily, so 5%, weekly, 20%. I mean, we have more aficionados of ChatGPT in here. But again, that was 1 month ago. As you know, this space is moving rapidly. And here you can see that the vast majority of those users, 46% on the right-hand side, have only used it only twice. But what you don't see here is the number of people that never used it. And I think the crowd that we are having here is not representative of the reality, because I spoke with a lot of people, and a lot of people never use ChatGPT. They read about it a lot, they hear about they read articles, they listen to podcasts, but never use it. So I salute you guys, okay, for using it on a regular basis and daily basis. So kudos.
Perfect. The next question they would like to understand from you is actually for what purpose you use it in. And here this question is formulated as a word cloud, so you might see some suggestion coming up, and as you write you will see the previous suggestion as an option to click, but you can also share alternative way that you use it. So you know the drill by now, I guess. Scan the QR code or use the code on slido.com and let us know. I really like the variety of the answer that comes in, from experimenting to trip planning to debugging coding for suggestions to find inspiration. It's actually touching upon many of the topics that we want to have that we actually plan for today's session. That's already very good. Probably the fun bit is also a very good input, because it's what made ChatGPT so famous so fast. The fact that everybody really enjoyed it, despite not being maybe yet a perfect solution, it was very enjoyable for many people across of different backgrounds, and that's how it gained this popularity so fast.
And also, I hope that for those who only use it or use it once, or maybe very few times, or never, that could be, this kind of a word cloud could be an inspiration for you guys to
exactly
use it.
Yeah, I also find very fun, but also very good use to solve children mathematics. I see somebody here has to go back to the basic of algebra sometimes, and I must confess I'm not sure I could solve the same problems myself.
So
very good. Exactly. Very good. Sam, why don't you let us know a bit more on this?
So continuing on that survey, here there was a nice question. So asking, okay, for what purpose do you use ChatGPT? Almost okay, like we asked you, but here you have like two categories. So that actually people use it with either with employers' knowledge, or without employers' knowledge. And with employers' knowledge, here you see that's okay. The top two here are marketing and education. So marketing, because inherently, okay, they are curious and they want to experiment things, and basically ChatGPT augment their skills towards their daily job. And education, actually the reverse, in the sense that the students are using heavily ChatGPT. So dear teachers, you have to work try to understand what is happening here, because all these students are having like in Switzerland, the system is a 6 out of 6. In the US, is having a grade A. So the teachers need to keep up with the students. So that's why the employer is actually encouraging the employees to learn about ChatGPT. Whereas those who use ChatGPT without employers' knowledge, here the winner is business services, so consulting companies. And here that there are two reasons. One is because the employer don't want their employee to use it. So we had cases, for example, in France, where they banned the use of ChatGPT because people used it by entering customer data on ChatGPT, which is a data privacy breach. So that's one way of why they're hiding it from their employer. And the other one is because maybe they just wanted to take the credits of providing new insights, better insights than if they did it by themselves. But nevertheless, what you can hear, the key message is ChatGPT is augmenting your skills. So start using it today and even better on a daily basis. Over to you, Kilian.
Perfect.
So yeah, Gabby did already the introductions. My name is Samyr Mazzour. I'm the Chief Venturing Officer, together with my colleague here, Kilian Massiah, our Innovation Project Lead. And maybe it's worth mentioning that our expertise is more on innovation. We are not computer scientists, but we have the privilege and the honor and luck to have within our innovation garage at HITS that we are surrounded by brilliant startups. And this is where we have access, to AI experts, computer scientists with whom we exchange on a regular basis to come up with these kind of talks. Next,
exactly.
Please.
Yeah. So about today, first we want to start by introducing the topic of ChatGPT. There was also the reason why I wanted to see what level of familiarity you had with the solution, just to know how much in details we should not go. We're then going to touch upon the application in the insurance space. We're going to discuss many things. How can ChatGPT as a solution, as a standalone solution be used? How can it be developed? And what we're going to explain later on is an enterprise solution to be more tailored to certain needs of specific industries. And last but not least, we're going to also discuss, we're going to have an open Q&A. And please, if you have any question, bring them in there. If there is something you would like us to clarify, feel free to share it, but we dedicated some time for the Q&A session as well. You will see also many of the images, for example, the one on the right side, are generated either with DALL-E or Midjourney. These are two generative AI algorithms focused on generating image. And you see always at the bottom the prompt, so the phrase that we use to ask the algorithm to generate a specific type of image. In this case, was a team workshop in the style of Magritte.
All right.
Back to you, Sam.
So, ChatGPT, it is the fastest growing app on the planet. So if you start at the bottom of the slide, what you see is these are all successful apps. But the question is, how long did it take to Google Translate at the bottom here to reach 100 million users? Well, it took it 78 months. Uber, it took it 70 months to reach 100 million users, and so on and so forth. Even Spotify, 55 months. But now you get into the number 2, TikTok, which is reaching 100 million users within 9 months, which is impressive. But ChatGPT, it took it only 2 months. This is not impressive. This is spectacular. 2 months. I mean, I think if I remember correctly, ChatGPT reached 1 million users within 5 days. This is unprecedented. This is absolutely stunning. I mean, in the insurance business, we would dream to have these kind of numbers. So yeah, but at least, okay, we have a North Star we could strive to go to. Next slide,
Hopefully,
please.
now that we use ChatGPT in the insurance space as well, we're gonna able to choose similar numbers.
Yes, absolutely. So where are we in terms of now we're talking ChatGPT belongs to generative AI, but where does it come from? Just to make a few distinctions. So the field or the realm of artificial intelligence, what is it? It's all about trying to reproduce what humans do in terms of seeing, like recognizing objects, or hearing, recognizing sounds, or moving, like robots teach robots, okay, how to walk, how to run, how to even jump or do a salto. So this is the realm of artificial intelligence, reproducing what humans do. Then a subset of it is machine learning. And here is actually the ability to teach the computer to perform specific tasks, leveraging on data, but also improve the performance of the computer while doing so. And then we go to deep learning, which is a subset of machine learning. It has the same task, but just the main two differences is that it's leveraging even more data. So we're talking about massive volume of data. That's one. And it's using neural networks. So basically, it's a method or a system that mimics the brain using like neurons. We have neurons for our brain. Here we have like a neural network using different layers to be able to conduct the same tasks. And now we get into generative AI, which is a subset of deep learning. And here, there's something new about it, is we're using past data to create new data, to generate new content. New content actually could be like text, like ChatGPT, or images, like DALL-E or Midjourney, or even videos, even music. So we are generating new things with them, with that subset. And this is our focus area, as mentioned earlier.
Perfect. So far we described very, I don't want to say theoretical topics, but we've been quite vague about ChatGPT. We said it's very interesting for sure. We saw many people have used it to some extent for very different type of purposes. But often with these new technologies, people get very excited in the beginning, and then the attention maybe is a bit lost. There is no real concrete use case that is found. And we actually wanted to show how this is not the case for ChatGPT. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with Khan Academy. This is basically an e-learning platform that was created with the purpose of enabling any kid anywhere in the world with internet access to actually be able to learn about any topic. So from math to chemistry to biology, anything is there. Often a lot of this content is also prepared by volunteers, and it is a really powerful tool. And they had a very interesting approach about GPT-4 in the sense of using this algorithm's capacity to have very human-like conversation, and leveraging this to enable any student to learn their own way. So what this image here on the left side shows you is really the conversation where a student wants to have just straightforward the answer, just want to get the right answer. And instead, through this chatbot, Khan Academy, or the name of the bot, Khan Amigo, in this case, is actually enabled to have a conversation with the student and help him reason through the problem, so they can then learn step by step what is the process to solve this. In this case, I think it's a math question. Yes. So the conversation capacity of this tool can really be used for training for educational purposes. Now, in this case, to teach math, but it doesn't. It's pretty straightforward how this can also be applied for other type of training. And the only thing that is needed here is to have some material that is prepared before, which in many cases for many companies, it's already there. Another very interesting example instead is the one from Morgan Stanley. So we're getting closer to the insurance space. We're still in the financial environment. And I guess I don't have to explain who Morgan Stanley is, but I'm sure you also very well that they have tons of reports, tons of internal data that can potentially be used by wealth managers. What they actually were able to do is structure this data and to actually leverage GPT-4 to enable any wealth manager to access in a very easy and intuitive manner all this vast amount of information. So the end result of this, if you think about it, is like you have a very new joiner who all of a sudden can leverage to a big extent the same level of knowledge that a way more experienced colleague might have. So you're really enhancing employees, and therefore you're also enabling them to offer a better service because they just know a lot more, a lot faster. Big remark here, we are not saying that all of a sudden GPT-4 or the application of ChatGPT-4 is replacing the expertise of the human. You still need to be an expert on the topic, you still need to be able to distinguish what's right from what's wrong. But now you have the possibility to ask questions in an internal bot and get out a summary from many different documents, being able to access this document, verify them if you want, and thereby being much faster in providing a much enhanced type of service to the customer. So how can we then transition now from the financial world to actually the world of insurance? We actually wanted to ask ChatGPT help for this. And on the right side, we wrote a prompt. So a prompt is basically a question, a sentence that you write to ChatGPT. And you'll see that there are some key factors highlighted here in bold that really are important when you write this type of prompt. So it's important that you define the type of language that you want the algorithm to use in its response. It's good that you try to specify the use case, the environment where this question is related to. So to say the scope. It's also then important that you write how you want to have the outcome. So you see, create a table split between 4 use cases. So the more specific you can be, the better the quality of the answer. Because one thing we have to remember is that you always, the ChatGPT will not be able to read your mind about what you want to get out of it. You always have to be very specific, and then it can be very helpful for you. So let's get right into it. I'm going to copy now the prompt, and I'm going to actually open the screen. All right. So here, in this case, we're using ChatGPT 4, which is accessible if you have the premium version of ChatGPT. And you see, in a matter of seconds, ChatGPT is already replying me with a very structured answer, following exactly the type of structure that I've asked it to. Now, ChatGPT, like we said before, is not the holder of the absolute truth. It's a very helpful tool. So the outcome of this will still need to be verified and still need to be vetted. But it's a very useful way to really brainstorm about potential use cases. You see, it started with the use cases for efficiency, for example, claim processing, and risk assessment. And then it's proceeding also with the use cases for growth, such as lead generation or cross-selling and upselling strategies. Very important, very useful. And in the following slide, we're actually going to have a look at how this is then applicable along the entire value chain of the insurance space.
Exactly. So what you're seeing here is, the insurance value chain going from product development to claims via marketing and sales, underwriting, customer operations. And what we took is the examples that ChatGPT has provided us and just dispatched them across the 2 dimensions, so efficiency and growth. And I'll walk you through now through a couple of use cases, starting now with, next one, please. With one use case under underwriting. And here, let's take the example of a customer that goes to the website of Generali, since it's part of Generali. And the customer is asking to the bot, I'm searching for pet insurance for my cat. I'd like to know what is covered and how much it costs. So this is how you start a conversation, and then you have a dialogue between the prospective customer and the bot. And this is, let's say, the alternative of going to the website, searching for the pet insurance. Within the pet insurance, read what is it about, read what is covered, and learn how much it costs. So just by asking a direct question, you would get a direct answer. And we will, a few slides later, we will tell you, okay, how we can make this possible. So this is one use case. The other one is under customer operations. So for an existing customer, and she says, I gave birth to a second child, and I would like to increase my life insurance coverage to ensure the financial security and protection of my growing family. So now you assume that that customer has logged in into it, My Generali app, and then the conversation can start between that customer and the bot that now knows who that customer is, how she's covered, and so on and so forth. And for something that is easy, the bot can resolve let's say the prompt. Or if it's complex, then we would hand over to a human agent. So the last two use cases were more focused on efficiency to actually reduce the time or have some time saving when doing something. Now we're going onto the growth use cases. So now is the bot talking to, here we are under marketing and sales, and the use case is cross-selling and upselling. So the bot is talking to our marketing manager, and the bot says, okay, 15 customers interacted with me today and mentioned that their family grew. How about suggesting them to subscribe to a life insurance? So this is now ChatGPT connected to our internal data and asking for showing that I learned from the various customer interactions, and I can generate leads now to either our distribution agents or our marketing managers. So, and the last one maybe. Now we are under product development, still under growth. The use case here is market research and product development. And here the product manager is asking the bot, what are the main needs of Gen Zs around mobility in Switzerland that are not yet covered by our competitors? And finally, I prompted ChatGPT in the last days, and I was pretty surprised about the answer. I mean, it was pretty impressive today. Obviously, it is not that good, but you can imagine how it will get better in the future. But these are fictional use cases, but it's just to give you a flavor to grasp what could be possible in the near future. But we will talk about this also later.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Sam. So we don't want to be if you pass me the phrase, the party pooper, but we also have to bring us a bit back to reality. And I tried to use a music quote, and then to which Sam said, I have a very old soul, which is also possibly true. No, but we want to bring you from this very interesting analysis of what is all the potential of this very interesting model to actually how what is really reality, and what are maybe then the next steps that we need to take to address the current reality. So to give to this along an example, Sam and I, in March of this year, we started exploring some potential use cases where we could use the public solution of ChatGPT. So the public solution is really the one that any of us can have access to simply by going on OpenAI.com and then following the path to use ChatGPT. So this is a version trained on general data. The use case that we looked at is the one of legal protection. And our goal was to see what type of application we could have of a ChatGPT in this space. So the traditional path, simplified here for the sake of the presentation, is that first there is a first notification of loss. So basically the customer presents the issue to the legal protection company. we then have the legal expert taking this notification and actually starting to do the research. For example, it could be that the customer has a neighbor who does barbecues and parties all days at all hours of the day, and he wants to know what he can do about it from a legal standpoint to solve this issue. The legal expert then research all the applicable Swiss law, and then in the end writes back an answer, usually per email, which explains, dear customer, in this case, if the party goes on after 22 in the evening, you can do X, Y, Z. We saw the following potential for ChatGPT. On the one side, ChatGPT could do the research for the legal experts, so finding the articles of law that apply. And then you could also draft the answer already for the legal expert, which then would have just to do some adjustments and then be able to send it to the customer. So we're talking, instead of exploring certain matters for hours, having the request being handled in the matter of a few minutes. Some of you might already guessed, this went for certain things well, for other things not well. And the result out of this test of March 2023 were actually that, yes, ChatGPT can write answers very well. Probably this many of you have realized by far. ChatGPT is very eloquent, almost sometimes too much. And this was exactly the issue that we encountered. The answer that we saw seemed so well written, that seemed just so right. And actually, at the eye of a legal expert, they weren't. So here is the first important point: is it still requires an expert to really understand, especially as things go very technical, if the solution is, if the answer is the right one or it's not. And we're gonna now explain in a matter of a few seconds how we can address this pain point. But the key message here is, if you're not an expert, a message can sound very, very much right. However, if you're an expert, realize that being ChatGPT trained on so many data from so many different countries, so from law that applies in the US to law that applies in Germany, in Switzerland, everywhere, as soon as it gets very specific, the quality of the answer decreases. And we try to map this out on this graph here. So you see the public version of ChatGPT, which is not integrated with specific and internal data. So it means it's just trained on data that was available at the time when OpenAI trained this algorithm, this model, sorry, has a medium value of accuracy. Depending on the matter, it can increase, it can decrease. In some cases, even for US law, because probably there were more data available, or the focus of the training was more on that use cases, it scores a lot higher than on other type of laws. However, there is a way to answer to this limit in value generated in accuracy, and this is actually done through what we call enterprise solution. With enterprise solution, we refer to the application of ChatGPT in combination with specific and internal data. And with internal data, if we refer back to the example of Morgan Stanley, we mean all these internal reports, all this internal information, communication the company already has, which can help ChatGPT become a lot more accurate through what is called fine-tuning. So think if we have, for example, Fortuna Rexschutz, who can use all its internal information to train the algorithm, to train the ChatGPT to be really specific on Swiss law, to use also previous conversation, previous information, to be able to answer similar questions coming up in the future. How can you then do this? How is an enterprise solution built? We try to split it in 3 different phases. Again, this is a simplification, so if there are some computer sciences expert in the room, I apologize for oversimplifying it, but we want to make sure that 3 case steps are clear. You start with an enterprise input, and the enterprise input can be, on the one side, omni-channel data, so communication that the company has stored from the past, for example, email conversation, chatbot conversation. the transcript of phone calls, all sort of type of information of this kind, together with enterprise data like the company webs, information that are stored there, or for example, previous report that the company has written. So all this information is then structured and is then taken, for example, in the case of that we looked at with Generali, is taken by a company, it's called Enterprise Bot, which we thank also for some very kind advice. And what happened is that the first step is taking this data and doing something very similar to what Google does. So there is an indexing process happening. So basically, you structure all this information to make it accessible and to understand also the content of the information. So you then can derive the insights and you can then combine it with ChatGPT. And this part is very important because by indexing and then making it available for ChatGPT to have a conversation on this data, the output that you can have is basically then, on the one side, automate the response through a chatbot. So imagine a person goes on the website and says, well, I would like to buy a pet insurance. I would like to get a household insurance. How does it work? And instead of just having, can you please share your email address? How old are you? And you have to choose different options. You can actually have a same type of conversation that you would have almost with an agent, with an advisor that can guide you through, can answer some questions, can provide you with resources if you have any question that you want to research on your own. At the same time, the application can also be support for an agent, for a human operator. So you could have, again, if you go back to the example of the legal advisor, you could have the answer pre-draft at a higher accuracy level based on past data, and then being able to make it available for the human operator, for the legal expert who reviews it, does the change where needed, but then is really enhanced and can really go through their tasks a lot faster. A very important point here that I want to highlight is the capacity to also determine how much the algorithm must stick to the information that is available. And this part is very important, especially in those industries where sharing information that is inaccurate can have some consequence. So there is the possibility indeed to say that if the algorithm, if ChatGPT finds the information as part of the internal research, it writes the answer. But if there is uncertainty, if there is not a level of certainty that is high enough, it redirects to a human operator instead of writing whatever. This is a very important part for the enterprise use case. Sam, back to you.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, so let's go now over some strengths and limits of ChatGPT. So first one, Kilian, I need to.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
So as we discussed, it is conversational and interactive. So you can talk to it and it feels human-like, the answer that you get. Second, please. So detailed and articulate, based on the, I mean, if you tested it, you work with it on a regular basis, so you saw how much in detail you can go, but also, and then the next one, also how adaptable it is. What do we mean by that is you can ask it, formulate the answer, but formulate this answer in a funny way. Or look, I'm writing an email to my customer. Could you please write it in B1 language? And then it would simplify the text for you. So this is actually a great strength. So in terms of limits, yes, as Kilian mentioned on the use case that we've used on legal protection, well, it was incorrect for that use case, but it's not always incorrect. It is sometimes incorrect. That's why we need to have the human experts to validate that kind of information. Second is absolutely sensitive to input phrasing. What does that mean? It means you need to learn how to prompt, to write the right query, the right questions, so that it understands what you want and it provides it provides a precise answer. And lastly, it may produce harmful or biased content for the simple reason that it has crawled the whole internet, and you know that in the internet you have the best of humankind and the worst of humankind. So you have websites that are fully biased, and sometimes it can provide you an answer based on those websites. Yeah. Perfect.
Thank you, Sam. So I want to be a bit mindful of time. This is a very important slide, but I would like us to leave some room then afterwards for the Q&A. Certainly, a big topic that always comes up is the one around data privacy and ChatGPT. So how is this tool that requires so much data also, how does it relate to data privacy? There are certainly three main challenges. So on the one side, there is the risk of releasing sensitive data, which is used for training or for fine-tuning the models. There is also a big topic around regulatory compliance, especially in Europe, where rightly so, there is a lot of attention to data privacy, having to handle so many data and wanting to have such accurate response sometimes needs to be properly addressed from the side of the regulatory compliance. And last but not least, there is also the topic of using unprotected data in AI training, simply because there is such a vast amount of data that is used that it's not obvious to always be sure of how protected and how private the data is that is used as part of the training. There are three key learning solutions that I would like to share. Again, this is not an encompassing slide. There are certainly more challenges and more solutions. But one important point, as obvious in my sign, is really to try to be as safe and as secure from the encryption standpoint. So when it's there, especially if we start to look at a solution where there is the transmission of data between different type of application or different type of cloud storage, in general, being sure that the data transfer and the data storage is secured is essential. Another key point is having the focus of being privacy by design oriented, and also really to apply data minimization. So really try to use the minimum amount of data is really required for a specific task, and really be focused on enhancing privacy from the get-go, not just starting to use a solution, then realize, oh, well, we might have to adjust something now. The last but not least is the topic of trying to use as much private. I always use private clouds or on-premise solution, where depending on the type of use cases, but really not share data on a public platform, because this, of course, starts against the interest of the solution and of the value of the company. The other very important thing is what is called differential privacy. And this I find very interesting, especially in those use cases where there is very private and very sensitive data used, such as maybe medical records. There is the possibility to introduce what is called noise. So basically some information that prevent the people to understand what person is this data related, this bit of information related to, but at the same time, don't prevent the algorithm to learn the pattern. So you basically are you're putting this noise all across your data set so that the patterns are still valid, but if somebody were to find one specific point of data, then you could not relate this back to a specific person. Again, happy to deep dive a bit deeper later on, but it is important that we don't highlight just the bright side, but we also make you aware of the challenges and the fact that there are solutions to these challenges. Sam, then back to you to have a bit of a glimpse into the future.
Okay, this is actually the finest, the final slide, and then we can hopefully have some time. So rapidly, okay, on the short term, this is what you can do with ChatGPT. You connect it to your internal corporate data, and you can have smart conversation like here. Perform a sentiment analysis on our interactions with car insurance customers of the past months. So basically, you can do that. Midterm, is now you go beyond your corporate data and you start to incorporate external data. Here, the example is weather. Midterm, you could have interactions with ChatGPT where you would add, where it would tell you, you should not ride your Vespa this morning. I have a Vespa. Wind gusts are expected to reach 80 km per hour. So already on the prevention side. Now, long term, what could happen is actually you could interact with even more external data. But the interesting thing here is not ChatGPT with connecting with APIs on data, but it's ChatGPT. I mean, interacting with other ChatGPT. So language interacting with language. And when I say ChatGPT, actually I'm referring to LLMs, so large language models. It could be something else. It could be Bard. It could be anthropomorphic. It's just for you to illustrate the thing. Imagine you would have other ChatGPTs that are linked to other data, and our generalized ChatGPT would interact with the ChatGPT of Swisscom, the ChatGPT of anything else, and there will be a conversation. And here the use case would be, and we're talking long term here, draft a go-to-market strategy for our new product X, targeting electric vehicle customers with a budget of 3 million. And within 5 seconds, you have an answer. Wouldn't that be magic? Well, this is what we believe the future is going. Yeah. So now we're done, but we want to have a special thanks to these two guys. So Baptiste Pret, founder of Sense6, and Pranay Jain, CEO and co-founder of Enterprise Bots. These are our AI experts, okay, with whom we talk. And also, okay, obviously, okay, we've done a lot of research as well. And yeah, just to leave so a big thank you to these guys. But now let's use the remaining time for questions.
Yeah, just in the meantime, if you could also quickly scan this QR code and leave us some feedback for the next session. Certainly one that we're gonna take with ourselves is to maybe be a bit faster on my side with some slides to leave more time for the Q&A, but we would really appreciate your feedback in general. And I see there are already quite some points or messages being shared in the chat. So let me see.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you, Sam and Kilian. So yes, we do have a few questions. I don't know if we will have time to answer them all, but let's go through them and see where it takes us. So here's one of the fresh questions. Are there concrete projects in Generali with ChatGPT?
Yes, so this is what Kilian showed us. Okay, the two that we are currently working on, and more to come. So definitely. So the two that Kilian presented.
All right. So John asks, I'd be interested to hear thoughts about costs. I set up a paid account and used the API calls in a spreadsheet formula. I copy the formula to 1,000 rows. Oh my God. Hold on. It just moved. Hold on. And it cost me $40 plus, cheaper than my time to do the task manually, but not significantly either. All right. So he's asking about the costs of ChatGPT.
Yeah, definitely. So yes, we also bought a membership to get access to ChatGPT Plus for the use that we are doing for the moment. I mean, it's bearable, but now if we are going into the enterprise solution, now we're talking different numbers. And okay, I'm not going to say anything about cost for specific projects because it's going to vary depending on the information that we are plugging in and that will be ingested by ChatGPT. But this is what is important here is the ability to experiment with it. So explore, see the limits. So now you're using it as a single user, but if you use it in collaboration with Microsoft, and I mean Microsoft has an interest to not sell something very expensive. They want the adoption as fast as possible. So on the use case to use case basis, the cost will definitely be different. Now, remember one thing: ChatGPT is not the solution for everything. This is very important. I mean, this is a huge, massive tool with 170 billion parameters. So you're not using a nuclear bomb to drop it on to try to kill a fly. You don't need that. You have a much agile kind of models that use much less parameters and might be less costly for specific use cases. But we're not here trying to say that use ChatGPT for everything. We're not.
Okay. So there's another question here in the chat. What is your perspective on the application of unexplainable AI models in the sector of insurance and banking?
Unexplainable AI.
Right? Explainable AI.
So what So explainable AI, just to explain to the audience, is the idea to make AI more explainable. So because for the moment it's a black box. As I said earlier, we're talking about deep learning, neural networks with a lot of layers. So even the inventor of an algorithm do not know why the AI came with an answer. So our perspective is we hope that those explainable AIs will try to make, there's a lot of research happening there. You have already companies trying to make sense of those black boxes. We hope that these will catch up with all these big LLMs to turn black boxes into white boxes. But for the moment, it's the team black box that is winning. And we hope that we will eventually get there, but that remains a question yet.
All right. And there's another question. I think that we have time for this. Hold on. Do you see any initiative from ChatGPT as a company to offer concrete industry-specific services, in a sense that they might train their product to example insurance-specific needs, or do you see them do that more as providing the base service and leave training, etc., to customers like generally?
I can answer, but I don't want to be the only one. Kilian, do you want me to?
No, if you go ahead. I try to chip in.
Sure. I mean, it's a formidable opportunity, to come up with solutions for specific industries. Basically, as if you're offering the model and if it can serve a whole industry, then obviously, you're creating even more value for the industry than if you just gave the let's say the vanilla model to the industry. So it's absolutely has it's a huge opportunity for those companies to sell it to the insurance industry or I don't know, the banking industry. Absolutely. But hopefully here the idea is that the industry start to develop its own kind of models and become proficient in the area, because we believe that in the midterm and long term, you can it's going to become a competitive advantage to have this kind of LLMs across the value chain. So either you let the tech companies do it for you, or you start to build it yourself and start to have the knowledge to do it.
Right. Does anybody else have the last question before we wrap it up? Okay. All righty then. So thank you so much, Kilian and Sam, for such an insightful Insurtech breakfast. Before we leave, as you know, it's a tradition for us to take a quick snap of everybody who joined the session. So if you feel like it, just turn on your camera so we can see your faces and we can take the photo. Kilian, can you please just stop sharing so we can see each other? Okay, here we go. All right. So I can see photos. Faces.
So maybe you can close the chat.
Yes, no worries.
All the people.
Close. All right, so we can see everybody. All right, I'm gonna take a few. All right, and here we go. Take another one. Yay. All right, thank you so much, everybody who joined today. I'm very happy we did this because this is such a trendy topic nowadays. So we're very glad that you join us. And remember that Insurtech Breakfast is coming to you every month with more interesting topics regarding Insurtech. So I'll see you next time. And again, thank you, Sam and Kilian. Enjoy the rest of your Friday and weekend. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Thank you very much.